Halito, and welcome to Native ChocTalk, a podcast by natives for all. Here we're keeping our Native ancestors' stories and history alive while also sharing with you our Native cultures, traditions, and more. I'm Rachel Youngman, a Choctaw originally from Anadarko, Oklahoma. I hope you'll enjoy this journey with me as we learn from our Native American guests. And stay tuned for the end of each episode where we'll talk about some great ways to support Native causes and or Native-owned businesses. Let's get started.
I am more than a maker.
I'm more than an outdoorsman.
More than a protector.
Than a graduate.
Than a princess.
An athlete.
A pastor.
I'm more than a warrior.
Chata ilifinachili.
Chata ilifinachili.
I am Choctaw proud.
I am Choctaw proud.
I am Choctaw proud.
We are the Choctaw Nation, and together we're more.
My dad used to teach art at Riverside Indian School, and while his brothers and sister looked full-blood Choctaw, my dad had dark hair and lighter skin. His students teased him about his skin color and would say, "Hey, Schaffner, if you prick your finger, you'll lose all your Indian blood." It's easy for the general public to think of all Native Americans as stoic and brave, or possibly beaten down and saddened by the history of their people. But something many may not know is the pure comedy gold that our people have carried throughout the years, often behind the scenes and typically amongst ourselves, until recently. Search for Native American comedy and you'll find a few comedians out there showing their comedy talents, or watch even one episode of Reservation Dogs on FX, and you'll get a good taste at our humor culture. Today, I'm with Aaliyah Johnson, a 15-year-old living on the Alabama-Coushatta Reservation in Livingston, Texas. Keep an eye out on this gal, y'all, because her comedy is taking the Native and non-Native communities by storm. Aaliyah is joined by her mother, Victoria Johnson, of Sky Breeze Photography, and together they'll share about their talents with us. Victoria and Aaliyah, welcome to Native ChocTalk.
Hello. Hi.
Welcome, welcome. A quick run through about Aaliyah for you listeners. Aaliyah Johnson started her comedy back in 2017 and is now a monthly contributor to Native Hoop magazine. She has also been featured in the PBS book American Portrait and was interviewed for Voyage Houston magazine. Aaliyah is even starting to follow in her mother's footsteps in photography and has been published in 3 coffee table magazines. In fact, one of her powwow images made the cover of issue 117 of Native Hoop magazine. So, Aaliyah, tell us the story of the wig and how you got started in comedy.
Okay.
Here goes.
I think I was at my uncle's house, back in 2017, my grandma's house. And I guess, I don't know what I was doing. I guess I was just in her bedroom because I used to sit in her bedroom a lot, playing whatever on her iPad, my devices. And I guess one day in her room, and I see, I guess, a wig on the floor. I'm like, oh, it's a wig. So I put it on. And, in her room, she used to have this mirror. So, and I look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, okay, this looks
that
good.
Looks good.
So I guess I wanted to show, my mom and whoever was in the living room at the time. I don't exactly remember. I go in the living room and I show off this wig, like, hey, look, here's the wig I'm wearing. Everybody, of course, gets a kick out of it. And I don't know, I just start saying stuff, like, I guess, funny stuff. And I guess it was about, because, I was inspired by Tanya Jo Hall. I don't know if you know who she is, but comedian.
Yeah.
And I used to watch a lot of her Auntie Beatrice videos. And I remember one video of hers that it was about like the Black Hills powwow. I don't know why. I don't know why I said it, but and I just start talking about like the Black Hills powwow. I guess because I missed it, or my phone. My mom had her phone out and starts recording me, and then I guess from there I just started doing more videos.
Right. And the rest is history. I was just curious, was that wig like one that she actually wore? or it just happened to be a
I
prop on
think
the
it
floor
was
for some reason?
I think it was my uncle's wig, but who knows how it got
Plot
on the floor.
thickens.
Halloween costume, maybe. I think Halloween
Yeah,
costume or
we may
something.
never even know.
Mhm,
Just,
mhm,
random wig on the floor. That's perfect.
mhm.
Well, your tribe, the Alabama-Coushatta Tribe of Texas, is comprised of 1,200 members. 589 of those reside on the reservation where y'all live today, which includes nearly 10,000 acres of land in southeast Texas. And this reservation is actually less than 2 hours from Houston, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so, by the way, we're just going to walk through information about your tribe real quick, but I definitely want to get back to the wig and the comedy for sure.
Mhm.
So I really think the history of the Alabama-Coushatta Tribe of Texas is super interesting. They're descendants of the Southeast Muskogee Confederacy, which entails 8 federally recognized tribes. And according to the tribe's website, the tribes lived in adjacent areas in what is now the state of Alabama. By 1780, the tribes had migrated to modern day East Texas. Although they were 2 separate tribes, the Alabamas and Coushattas have been closely associated throughout their history. So their cultures have some differences, but for the most part, they're nearly identical. And then during the Mexican War of Independence from Spain, the tribes fought with the revolutionaries, and their many combined contributions included a battalion of 300 warriors who were instrumental to the capture of San Antonio in the April 1st, 1813 battle. The newly formed Mexican government recognized both tribes independently and offered them tracts of land for permanent settlement. Those lands are attributed to the tribes in early maps of the region, including Stephen F. Austin's 1829 map of Texas. In 1836, Sam Houston brokered a treaty with the tribes before the Texas War of Independence from Mexico. The agreement provided the title of land between the Neches and Sabine rivers for one community with both tribes in return for assurance the tribes would not side with Mexico. Tribal members served as guides for Houston's army and provided provisions to feed Texas refugees fleeing from Santa Anna's army. Today, Houston's descendants still acknowledge that contribution to the Republic of Texas. In 1839, the Republic of Texas recognizes the tribe's equitable claim to lands in the new country. And in 1987, the Restoration Act passes Congress and restores the Alabama-Coushatta tribe to federal recognition. So, Aaliyah, what can you tell us about your tribe?
So the Alabama-Coushatta is one of the 3 federally recognized tribes in Texas, which the 2 others is the Sota del Sur Pueblo, the Tiguas in El Paso, and the Kickapoos down in Eagle Pass, Texas. We have the oldest reservation in Texas, which was established in 1854. And today we are governed by a 7-member council and advised by 2 of our chiefs, the principal chief and the second chief. We have an array of health and human services, and including emergencies, law enforcement and emergency services. And the earliest written document of the Alabama and Coushatta was around 1541 by the Spanish explorer Hernando
De Soto.
de Soto.
Oh my gosh, that goes way back then.
Way back then. Culture-wise, some of our traditional dances include the swan dance and the basket dance. The swan dance would show off the gracefulness of women dancers, which I believe I read was only exclusive to women. Men weren't allowed to dance it.
Awesome.
Of course, we have the basket dance, which was when women were given baskets to shake off corn and toss off into the air or rotating into the 4 directions. We are also known for our pine needle baskets, which is a pretty lengthy process. However, when you get a chance to look at these, obviously it's pretty worth it.
Huh.
Many of the baskets are made into animals like turkeys, cats, what else? Or even owls.
Oh, have you ever made one, by the way?
No, unfortunately I haven't. But
That's okay.
I would really like to learn.
I would too, to learn to make the Choctaw baskets on our side too. Yeah, if you ever make one, send me a photo so I can put it on social media.
And modern times now, every year every year we hold our annual powwow on the second weekend of June. No, the first weekend of
It's
June.
the first weekend now.
First weekend.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Mhm.
yeah. And you go to that every year, pretty much?
Yes.
Yeah. Sounds like you've been immersed in your culture from a very early age.
Mhm.
I try to be.
Yeah. And now you have 7 clans too, right?
Yes.
So that's bear, panther, deer, beaver, daddy long legs, which I love,
Mhm. Mhm.
bobcat, and turkey. Well, the
Mhm.
daddy long legs one is so interesting to me. It's not something that
Mhm.
you would think would be highlighted,
Mhm.
by a clan, but it's pretty interesting. Do you know anything about that? If you don't, that's okay.
Do you?
What? Daddy long
Daddy
legs?
long legs. I don't think I
Not on
do.
the top of my head.
That's okay. That
Mhm.
gives our listeners something to go and Google. So
Mhm.
very interesting. Thanks for sharing about that. I wanted to make a side note that um you guys I learned right before we got on the call, something I didn't know was that you homeschool, correct?
Yes.
That's great. And how many kids do you have, Victoria?
I have 2.
Do
I
you
have
homeschool both of them or
yes.
okay.
Stormy is in 4th grade. She just turned 10, and then Aaliyah is in 10th grade.
Okay. Well, and the reason I wanted to highlight that is I was homeschooled as well. And I know that we have some
Mhm.
homeschool families that listen in. So hellos
Mhm.
to everyone, whether public school or
Mhm.
homeschool. But I think one thing that's interesting about Aaliyah's story is that you do a lot of schooling throughout the week, but you're also able to put your performance practices in there as well, it sounds like. So
Mhm.
very interesting. And it's one thing I loved about the fact that you do practice your culture, you are homeschooled, and you also know about your tribe, which is fantastic. So August 9th, 2021, your chief, Herbert Glenn Johnson, passed away. And that wasn't too long ago. And this chief really meant something to
Mhm.
you, didn't he?
Yeah, he was my ahwo, my grandfather.
Oh, I'm sure you miss him. Tell us about him. What was he like?
Mhm.
So this man really liked watermelon.
Did he
I
really?
can tell you,
That's
he really
so
liked
cute.
watermelon. Before he passed, I remember he got in. I think it was in the hospital because he was in and out of the hospital the year he passed.
Yeah.
He gave my dad a voice message, I guess, from the hospital. He was talking about how much he was ready to come home. I remember one of the last things he said on there was, "Watermelon, look out."
Aw. It's bittersweet, isn't it? I bet every time you eat watermelon now, you think of him.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The
He loved going to bingo. I remember he'd go to bingo a lot.
Did you go with him?
Maybe once. I don't remember
Yeah.
now.
Mhm.
Maybe once.
So we loved watermelon and bingo.
He loved college basketball. He loved watching his gospel music. He loved watching the Wheel of Fortune. We
Me
still
too.
watch the
Me
Wheel.
too.
We
Yeah.
still watch the Wheel of Fortune.
Must be a homeschool thing.
Mhm.
He loved his coffee, and he loved doing what is it, crossword a lot.
Crossword puzzles.
You'd see
Oh,
him.
really?
On his couch. You'd see him on the couch, doing a crossword a lot.
That's so cute.
Mhm.
And he used to have candy, I guess, because of his diabetes, I think.
Mhm.
He used to have like candy around. I remember one of them being, I don't know if you know what it is. It's called Long Boys. I remember he used to have those a lot, and he used to give those to me to eat.
Oh, really? I'm actually looking them
Yeah,
up right now. Do go on.
Mhm.
Oh, I know exactly what those are. Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
And because I love eating chicken a lot, he used to call me chickenhawk. And
It's so cute.
he said, "Hey Rolanda." He used to call me Rolanda because of my comedy.
Oh, right, right. The many names of Aaliyah. So, Chief Johnson, your grandpa was born in Livingston, Texas on April 3rd, 1942. And I noticed the mentions of his name being Miko Scalaba, Herbert Johnson Sr. I assume Miko means chief, right? Is that
Mhm.
correct? Okay, but what does Scalaba mean?
Scalaba means dime. So the story, as far as I can remember, the story was that a little girl, obviously she's not little no more, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it was at a basketball game, and she goes to the concession stand. She gets something, and I think she was short on money. I guess she like needed like a dime or something. And she was told go ask my uncle. She goes over to them and like in a real small voice. She asks him, can I have a dime? And obviously my uncle thought this was cute. And it just stuck with him ever since then. And he used to call her Scalaba. When it was time to pick his name as chief, he chose Scalaba.
That's so interesting. A lot of people will probably wonder, that can actually translate the word, like, where did that story come from? So the mystery has been solved. So why don't you tell us about some of his accomplishments during his time as chief?
So actually, it's pretty funny. After high school, he attended Jacksonville College, and there he was known as chief. He was known for playing basketball. I'm gonna brag here. I'm gonna brag.
Go for it. He deserves it.
He only stood at 5'6". He set an all-time record then for scoring 67 points in one game.
Wow.
And then in the same season, he went on to average 33.5 points. In 2020, he was honored by Jacksonville College as a distinguished alumnus, I think that says.
I think so.
For a single day, he was named a street in Jacksonville.
Oh, really?
He's named after him.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's so neat.
He also served on the Big Sandy School Board for 48 years. He served as an elder and deacon at the Indian Presbyterian Church, and he played basketball 1 year at the University of Houston under the coach Guy V. Lewis. Guy V. Lewis for 1 year.
He did a lot.
A
whole lot. What a legacy he left behind. So with his being Beaver Clan, does that mean you're automatically Beaver Clan as well?
No. The way I believe the system is set up is that you whatever clan your mother was, you inherit that clan. But since my mom is not an enrolled member, I am part of the No Clan.
The No Clan. Okay.
So
that's officially how they say it, huh?
Yeah. So technically, I don't have a clan, but I'm one part of the No Clan.
No Clan.
The No Clan.
They call it. Yes.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And I don't know also if you know the group 1491's comedy group.
I only know it from you. I was turned on to them by you, actually. So thank you.
Yeah, the 1491s. You may be one of the members of that group actually went on to be on Reservation Dogs. The Spirit. That's who that. Oh,
Dallas
yeah.
That's
who,
yes,
yeah.
Right. He's so funny. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I love the 1491s. I used to watch it a whole lot. I know some of the stuff may not have been age appropriate back when I was watching a lot, but no.
Well, wouldn't it be nice if you got to meet him or any of them at some point and be like, I've always been your biggest fan.
Actually, one of the members, his name was Tito Ybarra. Actually,
Tito Comedy. But he's collaborated with him.
He has collaborated.
Okay.
He 1 year he came to our powwow, and he was at one of the drums, and I got to take a picture with him.
Oh, that's awesome.
I didn't get to say much. I don't know why I didn't, but I got to take a picture.
That's great. Well, may all your dreams of meeting them someday come true. So Rolanda J is another one of your characters that you mentioned earlier. Tell us about her. What's her personality?
I consider Rolanda to be my alter ego. So I guess she is more, like the uncles, like, how you heard the auntie jokes?
Yeah.
I guess it's somewhat like that. At least it's how I picture it in my mind.
Okay. So, Victoria, you must be proud of Aaliyah and her talents.
Mhm.
Now, you're Choctaw, correct?
Yes. My father, his side of the family, both of his parents were of Choctaw descent.
Okay. And so, on your dad's side, they came from Mississippi, as many of our
Yes.
Choctaw ancestors were. Tell us
Mhm.
about your family history.
Um, the stuff that was passed down to me, as far as I know, my father passed when I was about 7, to be specific.
Oh,
My grandparents passed, wow, well, my grandmother passed 6 years before I was born, I think it was. And my grandfather probably passed about 35, 40 years before I was born, to be honest.
you
So,
were missing a lot of people in your life.
yeah, so
Had a
it
loss.
makes things very complicated. And
Yeah.
so, I basically learned what I did in the short 7 years from my dad, things or what he experienced and then what was passed down to him. Um, I don't know the extent of it, but I know, the basics of what I've been told. That yeah, a lot of the family came from that East Central Mississippi area, close to
Mhm.
where the Choctaw homelands were. And I also had a lot that came down like to southern Mississippi in that area because where we're from, I grew up in southeast Louisiana.
Okay.
Um, and my dad grew up in a neighboring, we don't call them counties in Louisiana, we call them parishes.
Oh, right.
So a lot of his family, even, obviously the Choctaw lineage came down into what is Washington and St. Tammany Parish, Louisiana. And that's in the southeast area, probably just a little over an hour just north of New Orleans in that area. And yeah, a lot of his family settled in those two parishes. Both of my grandparents had come from the same area, and
Mhm.
a lot of them had come in from Mississippi in that area, from East Central and South Mississippi. And then my
Yeah.
dad grew up in a small town. I'm sure you probably never heard of it, Bogalusa, they call it, and I think that's a Choctaw word too, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Right.
So he grew up in a small town called Bogalusa. It's not really that big, to be honest. I think a lot of people have left, including my dad. He left.
Right.
Um, so yeah, that he grew up in that area.
Yeah. And then did they come over to Indian Territory at some point?
There is a story. If I got this correct, I hope I got this correct. It goes back to an ancestor. I think he would be my fourth or fifth great grandfather, and he was listed on. I don't know if you heard the Armstrong roll.
Yeah.
Uh, he was the last name is Jenkins. I don't know if you heard a lot of that last name, and
Not a
I know
lot.
there's just so many. My family lines, to be honest, there's so many different connections. Just trying to give you information. I'm like, okay, let me just stick to one and pick one specific. But there
Right.
is a story about him. He is listed on the rolls in Mississippi. I believe he was in the Madison County area. I think
Okay.
that's about an hour from where the Choctaw Reservation is today. And there is one story. I do have some documents. I have so much stuff in my emails. It's not even funny trying to save. I want to save for my kids. But
Yeah.
there is a story that said that he did give up land and went to an area of Oklahoma. I cannot remember that. I have to go back in my information, but
Mm.
I believe he did come over to Indian Territory, as what the story had said in the documents.
Sounds like we need to dig in deeper. I'm gonna
Yes.
get my ancestry out right now. Yeah, I love that stuff. I have a feeling I'll talk to you in 2 years from now, and you're gonna have even more information.
Yes.
So interesting. I
Hmm.
know, I wonder where he settled in Indian Territory,
I might
is
have
it the
to go look it
Southeast?
up and send you the information because I have so
Yeah.
many things saved, like in my emails from over the years I've collected.
Yeah. That's great. You sound like
Hmm.
me. Sometimes it's just a data dump, and sometimes I'm like, "Wait, was that
Yeah.
Facebook or is it on Ancestry? Where did I put it?"
Yeah. And I talk
Yeah.
to cousins, and everybody has different stories or different things. And you want to, and I like talking to cousins because help me piece things together, maybe stuff I didn't know. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. Send me the documents, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy
Mm-hmm.
to me when family members start
Mm-hmm.
sharing things that once they know you're interested. Although
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I've had family members that had information that they forgot they had, and they
Mm-hmm.
brought out a box. My aunts one time brought out a
Mm-hmm.
box, and they were like, "Wait, this is really cool. This has to do
Mm-hmm.
with our land allotments or whatever it was,"
Mm-hmm.
and just a treasure trove. The other thing
Mm-hmm.
is, if you have any original documents or you've
Mm-hmm.
printed out things, I think it's important to have like a
Mm-hmm.
fireproof safe, even if it's small,
I do
because
have a I
that's
do have a
great.
box with stuff that I started collecting.
Yeah, that's
So,
fantastic.
mm-hmm.
So word to our listeners, do what Victoria is doing. Even if
Mm-hmm.
you don't have a lot of time, sometimes
Yeah.
you're a single parent or whatever the case is,
Mm-hmm.
just capture it somehow. And someday you will have
Mm-hmm.
time to go through it all, whether it's when we're
Yes.
retired or we're
Mm-hmm.
empty nesters. But that's
Yes.
great. Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Good for you. So, and then you were actually a princess, right?
Oh yes. That's
Powwow princess?
nostalgia. So my sister and I, yes. Um, we grew up around it, primarily like powwows
Yeah.
when we were younger. I think since I was about 13 up until now with the kids, it's been about 30 years of powwows for us.
Wow.
Um, so my sister and I used to dance. I may have to send you a couple of those too if I got some non-embarrassing photos.
Bring them on.
Yes. But yeah, we grew up in it, and I think my first time that I was a powwow princess was 1990. Oh my gosh. See, I don't even remember. 1998. Was
Yeah.
it 1999? Yeah, 1999. Uh,
Okay.
that was Louisiana. I don't even think they have the powwow anymore, to be honest. Louisiana Indian Heritage Association princess. So I did that, and then I moved on. I think it was 2000 and 2001. Like honestly, you probably never heard this, but there are some organizations that will go into how do you say it, low security prisons for Native prisoners, and this one particular one in Beaumont, Texas. They had one with low security prison for the Native prisoners, and they put on this nice little 1 day powwow. And I was asked to go in. Yeah, you have to go through security and all that. That's another interesting story.
Yeah.
But I was their powwow princess from 2000, I think 2000, 2001, and then 2001 to 2002.
Okay. Wow.
So yeah,
Big
so
time.
three times a princess.
Right. And so you grew up in Louisiana. So when you
Yes.
did the powwows, you did those in Louisiana or Mississippi?
Louisiana, throughout a
Mississippi.
couple of states, Texas, Mississippi, wherever
Okay.
we can get to. So yeah.
Yeah. So eventually somehow, how did you get to Louisiana? Was it your family members from, your grandparents, or how did you get to Louisiana?
Um, well, I was born and raised there. Um, I was born in a town called Hammond, and that's like, if you look on a map, it's like in between New Orleans and Baton Rouge. It's about an hour
Okay.
from both of them. So I was born and raised there. Of course, my dad was from Bogalusa. He ended up moving to Hammond where he met my mom. My mom was born in that area too. Her father was from that area, but believe it or not, on another side of my family, that's the side there's no native, but her mom was from upstate New York,
Oh,
and then
of all
she ended
places.
up, yes, oh yeah, um, she ended up moving to Louisiana and met my maternal grandfather on my mom's side, and that's, they kind of moved back and forth from New York and Louisiana over several years, and then they ended up staying. My mom, of course, grew up in the area, and then of course my dad. So that's how
Yeah.
we ended
Okay.
up.
That makes sense. So I was thinking, like,
Mm-hmm.
did your tribe go from South and Southeast Mississippi up to Louisiana at some
I,
point too? But it doesn't sound like it.
no, I think it was maybe just individual relatives that just moved south or,
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. I'm always interested in how people get to different
Mhm.
parts of the country, and
Mhm.
it's great. And so, side note, you do some beautiful work in photography. Why don't you
Thank
share
you.
about your own story and Sky Breeze
Mhm.
photography and how you got started?
Basically, I love taking pictures since I was 9 years old. My dad, I don't know if I even mentioned it, my dad, and I have a couple other relatives that are into it. Um,
Okay.
he did it, just as a hobby. I don't recall anybody that pursued a career, but it's there, and I guess I picked it up too, and he did it and he passed it down to me, and then probably about age 9 up until now, I just love taking pictures, whether it was like, those old removable film cameras, like those little
Yeah.
Kodak, I started with that and just taking pictures of anything. And, as I got older and I had my kids and I loved, I wanted to document everything.
Yeah.
And then I just decided to pursue it as a career. And I got my first professional camera. I think it was in 2014, I think about that time. And, I started doing pictures for people and, um, eventually just putting a business together, a small business, and it's registered, and just took it from there. And then, just started submitting my work and, became a part of Native Who magazine too, monthly contributor, and just getting opportunities,
Yeah.
just submitting and getting publications and, exhibited and stuff like that, just coming along. Some
Yeah.
things were unexpected, but I'm
Little
guessing I'm going to keep
blessings.
going. Yes.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Well, and I'm glad you are because you're very talented.
Thank you.
Uh, yeah. So where can we find your work and get in touch with you if anyone would like to work with you?
I have a Facebook page. I try to keep my activity going on that and keep things going. You can just look up, it's like looking up Instagram. You can just type in at Sky Breeze and it should pull my full page up. And I have my phone number listed. I think it's okay to put my phone number on here if
Oh,
somebody
sure.
wanted to contact me.
Sure.
Area code 936-933-5558. I'm also on Instagram. Just look up at Skybreeze82. www.skybreezephotography.com.
Okay. Perfect. And I'll be sure to list all of that information on my
Okay.
Native ChocTalk page too.
Okay.
And before we
Mhm.
go, are there any words of wisdom you'd like to share with our listeners?
I guess for people my age, if you really, really just like enjoy something, just never stop,
Love that.
something simple like that. Yeah.
I love that. And I mean, you're living proof of it. You are on a journey. You're enjoying life. You're sharing your comedy. You can't even help it because it just seems to come out of you.
Mhm.
And how about you, Victoria?
Probably the same thing that she's saying. Just you can do anything. Like I mean, I can write a book and tell you how I started. I was afraid. I never thought that I would submit my work, but I like to tell people just do it even if you're afraid. Keep going. If there's something you're passionate about, just go for it, because you never know what's gonna come out of it.
Absolutely. And you've obviously been a role model to Aaliyah
Mhm.
in that way.
Mhm.
And sometimes
Mhm.
I think just the way we live is such a crucial
Mhm.
element for what our kids end up doing someday.
Mhm.
So, well, our Native people are taking the world by storm with talents in comedy, art, acting, media, crafts, and so much more. I hope you'll take some time to check out what we're doing and support our efforts by following us on social media, buying our products, and simply just encouraging us along the way. Thank you, Victoria and Aaliyah, for joining me
Mhm.
today, and we're
Oh,
cheering you
you're
on.
welcome.
Thanks for listening to Native Chalk Talk. Be sure to join our community on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Simply search for Native ChocTalk. That's Native, ChocTalk. And check us out at nativechalktalk.com. Stay tuned for the next episode. You're going to love it. Yakoki. Thank you, my friends.